taken from part 2 of A Manifestation of Delphiniums, a story by Sarah Jane Mackenzie.
Verity's living room. Anyone entering Verity's living room would be likely to have an immediate shock. On the wall over the ornately tiled mantelpiece, which itself was beautiful, featuring Art Deco ceramic tiles, each slightly different, featuring characters from A Midsummer Night's Dream, particularly the fairy ones, complete with a bronze poker to the front right and a tapestried stand placed in the mouth of the fireplace, was a gold gilded print of Albrecht Dürer's Christ Among the Doctors. When Verity had first seen the painting, she had not immediately discounted the impact of the consideration posed that Jesus might have been a female. It had been evident in the Bible that it certainly was not aggressive in nature, and that it might well have been, if he was born out of wedlock to some extent, that Mary might have needed to try and protect him further by making out he was male, when in fact he was not. It may have been that Jesus really had been a young boy, not a girl, but that some around him thought that he might be more like a girl than a boy. Boys in that time, perhaps having had to be particularly tough. She had wondered whether Dan Brown had secretly known about the painting, but had not ever disclosed his own knowledge of it, but rather obfuscated his knowledge of it in his most famous novel. Then she had wondered whether the Christ figure might not be the youngish girl-looking figure, but one of the surrounding men, or even the man to the back left looking scared and warning. One of them even had a note or label on his head, making him seem like a mental patient or a leper. Whether he was a doctor or his own subject, or whether he had somehow been, or was threatened with being, written off as an idiot, Verity thought was a question worth posing. The commentaries she had read had all tried to close down conversation about the painting. They had all referred it simply back to the incident where Jesus was found with Jewish scholars in the temple when he was 12 years old. Though in a way there were morbid associations raised by it, though it seemed in some ways a dangerously frightening picture, knowing also what happened to Christ anyway, she thought it deserved rescuing from the image archive, and finding it offered in print online, she had sent off for it, received it, and had it beautifully framed by a framing shop in York. Furthermore, Verity's three-piece suite was black velveteen. Her mother had given her the money to buy it when she had been much younger, and it had somehow been saved and preserved from the wreckage of used-ups and cast-outs. In one corner of the room she had a Welsh dresser which she had painted cream, and on which were standard and depended many treasures and heirlooms. Particularly noticeable were the Jemima Puddle Duck items. Verity had been through a phase of eating mostly curries, and at that very hot curries, but lately her palate had recovered its taste buds to an extent, and she was more pleased than she had been, particularly at one time, with blander tastes. She particularly now liked making Victoria sponge cakes, and often on the black velveteen settee in front of the fireplace, which had for years now been permanently out of use in the summer months, she would sit, eating a slice of Victoria sponge cake and sipping nettle tea. Being there, she could imagine that she herself might be being observed by some invisible force, perhaps even a group of aliens who had access to technology that was beyond human knowledge at the moment, and that she herself was making a part of what was some kind of art painting within its frame, within the frame of her furniture that she was proud of and fond of, and within her body, which she did not regard as a burden, but as an achievement. Looking at the painting again tonight, Verity was haunted not so much again by the pointy figures and potential accusatory poses, but by the thought that Christ might have indeed had a substitute placed on the cross. It would be good news, in a way, if Jesus had survived, but bad news, of course, for the look-alike. The phone rang. It had a loud ring which startled, and she was both pleased about that and always slightly nervous of it. "Is that Verity?" The voice sounded hesitant and cagey. It was a woman's voice that Verity did not recognise. "Yes, Verity here. Can I help?" She shuddered slightly and rubbed her arms a little. There was a definite draught tonight again. "This is Morgan Fletcher. You don't know me, but I work at the Lockley nursing home. I was wondering whether we could make an appointment to talk sometime." "We're talking now. Go ahead," Verity replied, slightly puzzled. "I'd rather we meet to talk in person. Julie asked me to get in touch with you, the WI Julie, but she does not know all the details. I know this sounds strange, but I have always had the worry that my phone might be being hacked somehow or listened in on." "That all sounds rather impossibly cloak and dagger," Verity replied in a slightly impatient manner. "Is Julie all right? Why can't she phone me herself? Where is Lockley nursing home?"